big guns booming. Battle lines drawn. Another political storm brews in the desert state.
Would you be able to turn the hand of history because it gives BJP a natural edge?
That's true. It's not a natural edge. It's just historically, last 3 decades, Rajasthan has seen a revolving door policy where we have 5 years of Congress and 5 years of BJP. But I think this time people are weighing both the parties. They're looking at the performance, looking at the national politics, 10 years of BJP government in Delhi, the economic issues, unemployment issues. And I think we've got a lot of tailwind coming in from victories in Karnataka and Himachal Pradesh. And I think all the 4 states that go to poll here, including the one in Northeast, the Congress party will be able to form governments.
You know, your voice is going, I get that. So apologies, not a problem. Apologies because we're making you speak and you have a lot of sabhas which are lined up. But having said that, what are your issues that you're going to the people with? Is it your 7 guarantees that you're talking of? And do you think they're going to catch?
I think it's multiple issues. So when we formed the government, we had a manifesto. And I can tell you that in 2018, when we went to the people, we had an agenda for Rajasthan, a blueprint, a roadmap. And I'm happy to say that we've been able to implement most of the promises we made. And now going forward, we have a commitment that people have faith in. Unlike the BJP, that was missing in Rajasthan. You see, for 5 years in Rajasthan, it was the opposition that was missing in action. We didn't see an opposition that was effective in a sense, or it was able to become the voice of the people. So I think people are weighing both the parties. It's a bipolar contest. It's always a 2-party election. So I think people are now willing to take that leap of faith and vote for the Congress one more time.
You know, the manifesto of the Bharatiya Janata Party mirrors what you have offered. If you've offered a 500 rupee cylinder, they're offering a 450 cylinder. You know, in terms of free bijli, they're offering more than what you're offering.
You see now, what stopped the BJP from giving this? In fact, what stopped the BJP from making the gas cylinder not 1100 rupees? It reached, the highest point ever. So price rise, inflation really have been going through the roof. Unemployment is a big issue. And to my mind, all these things are not going to gel with the people because they've had 10 full years to implement this at the national level. They've had governments in other states. It's only because we are doing some things, they're trying to, project the same sort of ideas. But they're not getting any traction amongst the voters. That's my sense.
Will history stand by BJP's side? Has time come for return of the Saffron Party?
The fact that we are winning, and we're winning hands down in the entire state, it also gives us a great amount of confidence. A government that works in sync with the central government is extremely important. So when Prime Minister wants this country to move ahead, and he sends, for example, funds for Jal Jeevan Mission to Rajasthan, and he sends 29,000 crores to Rajasthan, and it doesn't get utilized. Only 8,000 crore gets used. And even in that, there is massive amount of corruption. Water has not reached these places. Prime Minister had given a deadline of 2024, but the water has not reached. So therefore, it is equally important for the Prime Minister, if people have to give strength to the Prime Minister.
You've been charged by the incumbent government of them setting the narrative and you following it up in terms of your manifesto seems or reads like, as per them, a copy of the Congress schemes. If they're offering 500 for cylinder, you're offering 450. If you're offering X amount of money to the women, they're offering more. So they're saying it's a copy of that, one. The other charge that you're being leveled with is you're running a campaign of polarization while they are talking about development.
If you give, let's say, PM Kisan Samman Nidhi, the 6,000 rupees that goes to the farmers, immediately after you come into power, right? That is different than you offering them money 2 months before the election. If you give them free gas cylinders and free gas immediately after you come into power, it is different than giving them after registration. So, interestingly, people must hear this. The Congress government 2 months before the election says, we will provide you 100 units of free electricity.
And 2,000 for farmers.
2,000 units for farmers, 100 units of free electricity if you register with us. Very nice, fantastic. Are people not registered? Every bill is as per mobile phone.
A war of manifestos.
अभी यहाँ जो पिछले का घोषणा पत्र था, अशोक गहलोत जी ने और पूरे कांग्रेस के नेताओं ने मिलकर उसको जारी किया। 95% प्रॉमिसेस उन्होंने फुलफिल किया।
इन्होंने न आकाश छोड़ा, न नील धरती पानी छोड़ा, न पाताल छोड़ा, न धरती छोड़ी, तीनों लोग को लूट करके रखा। ये कांग्रेस का इतिहास।
The battle for Rajasthan. Top focus on to the point.
Cutting across to my colleague Dev Ankur, who's joining us for the very latest from Jaipur on the Congress releasing its manifesto. Dev, if you have to compare, there are possible mirror images other than the caste census.
Well, it is quite apparent, Preeti, that the Congress feels that to counter the BJP, they have to hit out at the Prime Minister. They feel that the offensive that the BJP went on to that has to be countered step by step. They feel that the remarks, that the aspersions that have been cast by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, mentioning that Mallikarjun Kharge had abused his father, the fact that he mentioned that trying to say that Rahul Gandhi is Murkho ka Sardar. So that is how the Congress feels it can counter Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Even today, the narrative that the Congress tried to set was that Prime Minister Narendra Modi says something else and he does something completely else. So quite clearly, Preeti, despite the fact that the BJP could have taken up the issues, and several of them are there, from paper leak to unemployment to inflation or price rise, the BJP out here in Rajasthan is trying to indulge in rhetorical statements, and it is quite apparent that in this last leg, the BJP feels that through this roadshow that Prime Minister Narendra Modi took out today and earlier in Bikaner, this is the last mile that the BJP needs to really push and give that momentum to the party, which can perhaps, it feels, can take the BJP to a different level and widen the gap between the Congress and the Saffron Party.
Well, you're right there, Dave, especially, where the manifestos might sound similar, but the kind of language of polarity between the BJP and the Congress cannot be missed. If the Prime Minister has directly attacked the Gandhis this time, the Congress leaders did not save themselves. You had Mr. Kharge even invoke the caste of the Prime Minister, or Rahul Gandhi, who during an election rally this time actually called the Prime Minister Pannoti. Let's now take it to our other guest this evening, Avinash Kalla, senior journalist with us, Rajdeep Sardesai, consulting editor. Rajdeep, first question. What, according to you, will be the biggest poll factor in Rajasthan after your travels?
Well, Preeti, for me, the biggest factor in Rajasthan this time is what I call freebies versus local anti-incumbency. Now, you are seeing the slew of promises that are being made by both the Gehlot government as well as by the opposition BJP, almost mirroring each other. Now, some of those promises that Mr. Gehlot has put in place, like free mobiles, you could call freebies. On the other hand, his Chiranjeevi scheme of health insurance, you could claim is genuinely welfareist. So you have Mr. Gehlot trying to offset local anti-incumbency against his MLAs, many of whom are seen to have aggrandized themselves over the last 5 years. Their assets have been built up, and questions whether they've done enough for their constituents. So to offset that local anti-incumbency, and of course Rajasthan's famous 5-year itch where governments change every 5 years, you've got a slew of promises of a kind perhaps that we haven't seen in certainly not in Rajasthan, for women, for youth, for Dalits, for every group. Promises are being made, some of which are freebies, some are welfareist measures, and therefore I think this election is about, is that enough to woo the disenchanted and fatigued voters who perhaps are angry with their local MLAs. I think that is the nature of this context, if I were to put it in very simple words again. Freebie politics versus local anti-incumbency.
All right, okay. And I want to bring in Rajesh Kalla. Rajesh Kalla had also, what Rajdeep says, add in the fact of polarization. The Muslim population might not be too much, Avinash Kalla, where, Rajasthan is concerned, but polarization to the hilt. Everywhere you go, cutting across region, you heard Sanatan Dharm, you heard Kanhaiya Lal, especially from the Bharatiya Janata Party.
Yeah, Kanhaiya Lal is a staple of all the speeches, and having matched the Congress with welfare schemes, one for the other, BJP is now trying to address the core Hindutva vote bank of its own. And if it could get all those people together, they think they have a chance because there aren't any new schemes or different schemes that they have. So their only differentiating factor here becomes Hindutva and the core vote bank, and for which both the BJP and its allied factions like the RSS and other units are all focusing on. Look at today's yatra that the route Prime Minister has taken. This crosses through the 3 constituencies of Jaipur, which are all polarizing constituencies, or there is a contest between a Muslim candidate and a Hindu candidate. That's the sort of the constituency that it is. Hawa Mahal, it has got close to 50% of minority votes. Then you have Kishanpol, which again has a sizable minority. Then you have Adarsh Nagar, another Muslim-dominated constituency, where Hindus are also in equal number. And the differentiating factor between them is not too much. If I take a case in point, if you look at Hawa Mahal, there are close to 110,000 minority voters, and the other voters, which are Hindu voters, would be somewhere around 140,000. So it's quite close. So the BJP is trying to garner as many votes as it could and consolidate the core Hindutva vote bank so that it could then match the Congress with its own welfare schemes. So that is how the BJP wants to take the election further. And similarly, as I mentioned yesterday also in Rajdeep's show, the thing is that now in a tourism-dominated state of Rajasthan, the BJP is taking Ayodhya tourism to the next level. Everywhere where its leaders are going, they're promising that if you get a BJP candidate elected, the candidate will take you to Ayodhya, and there we will manage everything after the 22nd of January. So that is another thing that they are pushing very hard. Ram Mandir and Ram Lala is also a big issue for the BJP in this election.
Avinash, what I found, and I'll bring in Rajdeep on it, at least on my travels, suddenly in the final leg of the campaign, the bulldozer has come in as the chief guest in most sabhas. Yes. In the matter of 3 days, I came across 11 or 12 sabhas where you had the bulldozer as, the backdrop of the sabha. So interesting in that context because, of course, it has a law and order angle. It also has a polarizing angle as well. But Rajdeep, if you have to encapsulate your travel through Rajasthan on what would be the biggest poll points per se, what would they be?
You know what, Preeti, struck me on my travels through Rajasthan is the reinvention of Ashok Gehlot. Now here is someone who, through much of his 50 years in public life, was the backroom political operator, not seen as this charismatic leader or a personality cult around him. Instead, what are we finding? Everywhere you go in Rajasthan, Gehlot is being pitched as a larger-than-life figure. So the election becomes about Ashok Gehlot. Are you with him or not with him? If this was a chief ministerial contest, I might even suggest that the popularity of Mr. Gehlot, because of these welfare schemes, might have actually won the Congress in election. So if it was presidential, he'd have an advantage. But the fact is that he, in a way, has not been his own man over the last 5 years. The conflict with Sachin Pilot, the compromises that have been made to retain your MLAs and keep your government together could cost him the election. And perhaps that's something that struck me. It's not as if the BJP has done something dramatic in Rajasthan to push Mr. Gehlot on the mat. But the fact that he spent much of the last 5 years basically in damage control, crisis management, trying to ensure that his government wasn't toppled, dealing with COVID, dealing with the war with Sachin Pilot, all of that has meant that I think governance suffered for the first 3.5 to 4 years. Has he done enough in the last 1 year to be back in the race? Well, I sense that he's down but not out. But net, it will take a fair amount for Ashok Gehlot to reverse Rajasthan's 5-year itch.
Well, many would suggest that. And Avinash, I want to bring you in on that with what Rajdeep was also suggesting. But there's something that even I saw. You see the BJP ahead, but you don't see anti-incumbency against Gehlot. He's still seemingly popular. So at one angle, you say, okay, BJP is going, history is going to stand by BJP. But then you look at, can Gehlot turn the tide?
Preeti, elections predominantly have been on local factions and local leaders. Even if you look at constituencies, most of the people who are elected once, even if they get out of the position next year, in the coming election, they come back again. And now we are talking about, can Mr. Gehlot pull this thing out that, he gets the Congress back into power? If you look at election data, in the last 3 elections, there have been 53 seats that the Congress has not won. And in that, they have come into power twice. So there are seats which they have not won. So take out of 199, 53 out. They are left with close to 140 seats. And in a election which is a pendulum state, to get 100 plus seats out of 140 seats, which are your playing area, you don't stand that great a chance. So that is a very difficult thing. And usually people vote on the local MLA. That has been the case so far. Will Mr. Gehlot be able to change it? His campaign has been brilliant. It's, I think, for the first time that the Congress is setting the agenda and the BJP is responding to any agenda. So on that account, the Congress has done a good job. But will it translate into votes on the 25th remains to be seen.
Well, we'll only know then because, Avinash Kala, the BJP still seems to be ahead. And what they're also seeming to do is a bit of recalibration. And, correct me if I'm wrong. What I also saw in the final dying hours of this campaign is, Avinash Kala, maybe the return of Vasundhara Raje on the posters that have been plastered across the state. She wasn't there earlier. Modi was on the ticket. But suddenly I've seen a lot of posters where you have the Prime Minister in the middle, Mr. Nadda on the side, and next to him, the Prime Minister on the other side is not CP Joshi, but Vasundhara Raje.
Yes. Preeti, if I can say, a few hours from now, just a few hours earlier, the BJP finally got its Kodak moment when Vasundhara Raje and the Prime Ministers were clicked in Anta. A district in Jhalawad Bara area, a place in Jhalawad Bara. And it was only Vasundhara Raje and the Prime Minister who were the big leaders on the stage. They were sitting next to each other. They were talking. And for the first time in the presence of Prime Minister, Vasundhara Raje made a speech. And she ended the speech with a chant of Modi, Modi. So that last cog in the wheel was put into the place. And now BJP has got its act together. They got their Kodak moment. There were many speculations that what will happen to Vasundhara Raje. Will she and Prime Minister come together or whatnot? So the BJP guys got their picture right. And after Vasundhara's speech, the Prime Minister took the name of Dushyant Singh. So that has been put in place. Gradually, you see the BJP coming all together just 3 days prior to that. And one more thing, Preeti, if I could say, there was a Vasundhara Raje loyalist, Bhavani Singh Rajawat, in the Kota Hadoti area, who was contesting as an independent. He did not pull out of the election, did not take his nomination back, but today did a press conference and said, I will support the BJP candidate from my constituency.
Well, you're right there. You're right there.
Things are coming in.
Well, things are coming in, and Vasundhara Raje seeming to, without giving a single interview, viewers, very unlike Vasundhara Raje. She's very vocal, goes through across sabhas, hasn't spoken to the press at all, but seemed to be managing things at the back. Well, has found her way back to the posters where Rajasthan is concerned, adding to it what Mr. Kala said. Appreciate both you gentlemen for joining us. We're going to get you back tomorrow evening as well as we break down what's going on in the state of Rajasthan.